Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Friday, January 12th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. Then we'll get over to RotoWire to talk through the injuries in play for tonight's main slate. It's going to be an 8-game main slate in total. There's 2 other games after that, which are not going to be on the main slate, but we'll just talk through those injuries as well. There's only one team on the back-to-back today, and that's going to be the Portland Trail Blazers. And then after that, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and DraftKings and talk about my core picks. So it's going to be one player at each position on both sites: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we had Jaden Hardy, $3,700, looking for about 19 points out. We got 21.5, so he used the hit. But at shooting guard, we went with Kyrie Irving, $9,000, looking for at least 45 out. He got to 70, so he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. At small forward, the one lone miss on the DraftKings side yesterday. So $6,100 OG Anunoby was looking for at least 30 out of him. Got to 24.5, so he's a miss. 4 for 10 shooting from the field. Mainly they just scored the ball yesterday. It was a little bit unfortunate there. Then at power forward, we went with Jalen Williams, $7,200. We were looking for at least 36 out of him. Got to 39.75, so he was a hit. And this game was a massive blowout. He only played 19 minutes in this game, but he still hit for us. So if he would have played even more time, would have been an even bigger day for him overall, but still a good hit regardless. And then last but not least, we had Isaiah Hartenstein at center, $6,500. Looking for 33 out of him, got to 33.25, so he was a hit as well. So 4 out of 5 in terms of hits on the DraftKings side yesterday. As long as you had some other decent plays in there, you probably had a really good chance of cashing just in general. Then on the FanDuel side, it wasn't quite as bright over here. We had a lot of misses, but a lot of guys that, weren't that far off from hitting at the same time. So at the point guard position, we had Jalen Brunson, $9,000. Looking for 45 out of him. He got to 43.4, so he's a miss. Did score the ball pretty well. He had a decent amount of assists, only a couple of rebounds. But at the same time, he's not a guy that hurt our lineups. It was close enough to hitting that it was not a major thing here. And then at shooting guard, we went with Malik Beasley, $4,500. Looking for 23 out of him. Got to 20.8, so technically he was a miss. Mainly just scored the ball yesterday. I believe he played 27 minutes in that game. If the game's a little bit more competitive, maybe plays that couple extra minutes down the stretch and really pays off for us in general, but still not a bad play altogether. And then at small forward, we had OG Anunoby once again, $6,200. Looking for at least 31 out of him, got to 25.2. He was a mess, like I said, on DraftKings, 4 for 10 shooting from the field, mainly just scored the ball yesterday in general. Then we moved down to power forward with Taurean Prince, $4,900, looking for 24.25 out of him, got 21.2. So another miss here. Like I said, once again, these guys, they may have all been misses, but they weren't that far off at the same time. And then last but not least, we had Dwight Powell at $4,800. Got to 20.8. He technically was a miss as well. Played 28 minutes in this game, which is kind of good to see, but he mainly just rebounded the ball. Really didn't do a whole heck of a lot otherwise, so a little bit unfortunate there on the FanDuel side. If he had some other really good plays alongside this core, you still had a chance to cash in because the core, although they were misses, still were not that far off at the same time. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about those injuries in play for tonight's slate. So we're going to start off with the Pacers and the Hawks. For the Pacers, we got Haliburton and Walker out, so not really a major change there. Jalen Smith listed as questionable due to a back injury. He did miss their most recent game. If he's unable to go, I'm probably going to get Obi Toppin back in that starting lineup in his place once again. And then we got Aaron Nesmith also listed as questionable for tonight's game. I believe he did leave their most recent game a little bit early. We'll see whether or not he ultimately does end up playing tonight. If he ultimately doesn't play, then it's going to be either Benedict Mathurin or Buddy Hield re-entering that starting lineup. And then on the Atlanta Hawks side, they have Guy Hunter, Krevich, and Wesley Matthews all out for tonight's slate. And then we got Garrison Matthews listed as questionable due to an ankle injury. Not anybody that we're really concerned about. Then there's Clint Capella listed as questionable once again with this Achilles injury just in general. So if he's out once again, Onyeka Okongwu is going to look like a solid play once again overall. And then Trae Young technically listed as probable due to his shoulder injury. For the Houston Rockets, we got Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason, and Victor Oladipo all out once again, so no real changes here. Pretty much what we've seen out of this team in recent games. On the Detroit Pistons side, we got Cade Cunningham and Monty Morris both listed out once again. Isaiah Stewart is listed as probable, so safe to assume that he does re-enter that starting lineup. And then Bojan Bogdanovic is also listed as probable for tonight's game as well. Then we move over to the Sacramento Kings. Kevin Huerter listed as questionable for tonight's game. He did leave their most recent game 1 minute into the game with a pretty bad ankle injury, so kind of assume that he'll probably be out once again tonight. Not anybody that I'm going to play either way. And then for the Philadelphia 76ers, we got Robert Covington, Joel Embiid, and Kenneth Lofton. So Nothing too major changing here once again for the 76ers team. We move over to the Golden State Warriors, who are without Draymond Green, Moses Moody, Chris Paul, and Gary Payton II. So they're a little bit shorter in terms of depth for today overall. It'll be interesting to see what that starting lineup looks like and their kind of rotations as the day moves along. And then we move over to Chicago Bulls, who just have Torrey Craig listed out once again. They are essentially all the way healthy at this point in time. And then for the Orlando Magic, we got Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, Franz Wagner, all listed as out for tonight's game. And then we have Wendell Carter listed as questionable. I can't remember what he's dealing with. I think it's a hip, but I could be wrong at the same time. Then for the Miami Heat, we got Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, both listed as doubtful once again. And then Caleb Martin, Tyler Hero, both listed as questionable. Obviously, if Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin don't end up playing in this game, then there's going to be even more value on the Heat team overall. And it already looks pretty decent to start off the day. And then we move down to the Portland Trailblazers. They're on the back-to-back, so we'll see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, we got Jalen Clark out once again. Rudy Gobert is questionable due to his hip injury. And then we move over to the Charlotte Hornets, who are without Gordon Hayward and Mark Williams once again. And then we got P.J. Washington, Frank Ntilikina, Cody Barton, and LaMelo Ball all listed as questionable for tonight's game. All listed as questionable for tonight's game, so we'll just kind of have to see how that all shakes out as the day moves along. On the Spurs side, it's just Sissoko and Collins out once again, so no real changes there. For the Clippers, just Diabate out once again, so they are pretty set in stone with what they're going to do once again tonight. And then we move over to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are without Santi Aldama, Brandon Clark, Derrick Rose, and Marcus Smart. And then also throw in Ja Morant for the conversation today. On the topic of that point, they really don't have a point guard left at this point in time. Jacob Gilyard's been playing down in the G League on his two-way contract as of late, so we'll see whether or not they promote him, but could just ultimately end up being, like Luke Kennard and Desmond Bane running the point for this team overall on tonight's slate. And then we get down to the two games that are not on the main slate. So we got the Toronto Raptors, who are without Christian Koloko and Jakob Poeltl once again. Pascal Siakam is questionable due to a back injury. We'll see whether or not he's back today or not. And then we have Otto Porter Jr. He's been missing a lot of time lately, so safe to assume that he's probably going to be out for a while. And then last but not least, Grady Dick was recently recalled from the G League team, so we'll see what he's able to do for this Raptors team overall if he does get some playing time. Then for the Utah Jazz, they appear to be all the way healthy at this point in time. For the New Orleans Pelicans, they are without Matt Ryan once again. Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, and Brandon Ingram all listed as questionable for tonight's slate. So a little bit of pessimism there. If a lot of these guys ultimately end up getting ruled out, some of these bench guys are going to look even better at the same time as well. And then last but not least, we have the Denver Nuggets, who are without Kankar and Strother once again. So pretty much what we've seen out of them in recent games. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate overall. As always, I'll be listing all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. So definitely make sure you're checking up down in the comments as the day moves along. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we are going to start off at the point guard position with DeJounte Murray. You can also play him at shooting guard. He's $7,200, looking for 36 He's averaging 38 so far on the season. And just looks like a pretty good value play. He's going against the Pacers tonight, which is going to be a pace-up spot just in general. Probably going to be the highest over-under point total of the day once again. So definitely do like the upside that he does present overall at a pretty reasonable price tag. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Alex Caruso, $4,800. Looking for at least 24 out of him. He's averaging 22.5 essentially on the season. It's a pace-up spot versus the Warriors tonight. And then for what it's worth, Alex Caruso has been playing pretty big minutes as of late, including the return of, guys like Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic just in general. But with that being said, I currently have Alex Caruso projected for 28 points tonight. Definitely could have more, definitely could have less. A lot of factors that play into that, but we'll get moved down to the small forward position. We're going to go Cam Whitmore. He was in my initial core, I believe, 2 days ago now. He is $4,300. We saw him get an increase in minutes once again last time out, so that is pretty favorable for him. I think at this price tag, we were only looking for 21, 22 out of him. Definitely could pay off at that. Currently, I'm projected for about 24 fantasy points tonight. Then we move down to power forward with Nikolai Jovic. He is $4,800, so rising up there slowly in terms of price tag. So we're looking for at least 24 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 28. Not too much to say here, but as long as this Miami Heat team stays banged up, he's going to look like a pretty decent option at this point in time. And then last but not least, we go move over to Yeko Okongwu, and this is assuming that Clint Capella is out once again, $5,800. Looking for at least 29 out of them. Currently, I'm projected for 30. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $23,100 remaining, $7,700 per player. So a good amount of flexibility left over, whether you want to pay up for a stud at the top or whether you want to go with a little bit more balanced build just in general. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Stephen Curry. $8,400, looking for 42 out of him. He's averaging just over 39 on the season. He's coming off 2 really rough games, but a matchup against the Bulls should be pretty favorable for him just in general. So I do like the upside that he could present today. Hopefully he's able to get his shot knocking down and looking more like normal Steph Curry once again, though. And then we move down to shooting guard with Duncan Robinson. So there is kind of a pessimism that Tyler Hero actually does play in this game. If he's out, Duncan Robinson's going to look a little bit better shooting those threes, spacing the ball just a little bit more, and then kind of knocking down those 3-pointers just in general. So definitely a guy that's going to look pretty interesting overall today. Orlando has struggled a little bit versus the guard position so far at times this season. Whether or not that'll be the case for Duncan Robinson kind of remains to be seen, but definitely do like the upside that he could present just in general. And then we move down to small forward with Luke Kennard, $4,500. Looking for 22, 23 out. Currently, I'm projected for 25 tonight. Could take on some more leadership in terms of ball handling with this unit just in general. Obviously, the Grizzlies are kind of hurting for pieces, especially at that point guard position, which, Luke Kennard does have a little bit of experience playing there in the past, but nothing too crazy. Even back to his college days, but I think he did play there a couple times in the NBA as well. But at this price tag, it's pretty hard to deny Luke Kennard. I think the upside that he does have could look very favorable by the time we get to lock. Then we get down to the power forward position. We got Nikola Jovic here. He is $5,400, so a little bit more expensive than he is on DraftKings. Once again, he's a guy that is a little bit interesting. If he's out there, if he's starting the lineup, he's getting the minutes, he's going to look like a really good option overall. If that's not the case, then, we still kind of have a cheap option here just in general. As long as it doesn't goose egg, then we're going to look pretty good overall. Then we move down to center with Alperen Sengun, $8,900. Looking for 44, 45 out of him. Averaging about 43 so far on the season. Pretty favorable matchup versus Detroit tonight just in general. And then with that being said, I currently have him projected for about 47, 48 points tonight. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, $27,800 remaining. Just over $6,900 per player, so a lot of room and flexibility, whether that's something you want to do. Pay up for another stud, pay down at a couple different positions. A lot of the ways that we could approach this slate just in general. But with that being said, these are my core picks for today, Friday, January 12th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then with that being said, I would ask that you please note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates as they do get announced throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do come out throughout the night. And then, as always, I will be leaving my updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock as a pinned comment. If there's no changes to that core at that point in time, I'll just leave a note that says no changes to the core at this point in time as well. If there's any other additional changes, I will leave them as a reply to the pinned comment. So definitely be sure you're checking up as we do get closer to lock, just so you have the best information, the best news as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just have NBA DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Prize Picks, and Parlay Play. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up and make an initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% of your initial deposit up to $100. For BetUS, it's 125% of your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. But with that being said, if you have any other additional questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter, and I'd be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. And then last but not least, that's pretty much what I do have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tune in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.